All right, let's start off with probably the best call of the day by Zozo, one of our moderators. He called UAL at 44.84. Let's get the drawing tools going here. This is the opening 5-minute candle right there. So you can see the opening 30-minute high right there. Came down, came right back up. And so the entry Zozo called, basically a new high of day right there. And the stop suggestion was 44.62, so 22 cents risk. Didn't matter because there's a trigger and one little flag pullback and it was off to the races. And look how strong this thing closed. It went all the way up to 46.82. That is basically $2 on 22 cents risk. Great call by Zozo. And there it is on the daily now. Very, very nice call. All right, Broadcom. Couple calls on this one by a couple of moderators. The first, you see the gap up in Broadcom. Stevie B, one of our moderators, just called this on a 5s setup. You had the gap up and a nice pullback to the 5-minute candle, 8-period moving average. So the long here is 34.34 with a 34.04 stop. And it never did come back down and test the stop. So from 34.34, I think the highest it got was maybe 35.30? 35.35. Very nice call by Stevie B. Somewhere around $1 move on like 30 cents risk. And if you just scalp this 5 setup by Stevie B, or if you didn't take it, later in the morning Zozo called this again. It was holding the 5.8 nicely, and he called it long at 34.66 with a stop at 34.44. And this one was pretty nice because there's a trigger, and I don't think it ever even came back down to your entry. So that was kind of one of those no pain trades. You never underwater. Those are nice too. So another nice one by Zozo. Zozo also called MNGA at $1.66. You had the very nice open. We've been watching this one in chat, trading it a lot lately, and it went up to $1.65, came back down. Zozo's idea, $1.66 with a $1.55 stop. And again, another no pain one from $1.66 pretty quickly to 73, and ultimately went to 80. Never stopped out. And percentage-wise, a nice one there as well. Let's see what else we have from today. In my notes, I mentioned SN on like a 15-minute setup down here at the purple line, the 215-200. And it did, if you took that, it did trigger and never stop out and ended up going up, I don't know, the next hour like a big 30 cents or something. It certainly wasn't impressive, but it worked if you took it. NEON, after this big push, when it came back down and did this base, I just called it long. I think, 317 with a 314, something like that. I might be off by a penny, and it only got to 322. I showed you guys this in chat earlier. I do like this one. It's kind of interesting now because on weekly candles, this thing's held $3 pretty well, and then go back to the intraday, and that volume spike was on a buy by the insider buy by I think the chairman, and so it got a nice pop on that. And the fact that it held 3 again, this one's interesting. I will be watching this one tomorrow, maybe for a break of this little flag here or something like that. Actually, my best call of the day was Bristol Myers BMY. It was straight down, and my first call was right around here at 48-ish, something like that. And it went over the next 15 or 20 minutes to 48.75. I got a little scalp, and when it came back to my entry, I was back out, but I called it again, right again here, double bottom around 48.50 with a low of day stop that time, and that was the nicer move. And if you use my 30-minute rule, you got a lot more out of it. So again, try to force yourself to stay in trades at least 30 minutes. I'm seeing it pay off on a lot of trades. As a matter of fact, let's see, that one went up, I don't know, about 70 or 80 cents. But I was going to show you MY. Zozo also made a call on this one, and then I turned on the projector and said, as this was breaking the high of the day, right around 345. I said this one looks good, especially if you can get through Friday's high. So anyone that nibbled it there, here's a great example of the 30-minute rule. If you took it there and you said, yay, I got 7 or 8 cents and you're out, right? Because a lot of people, a lot of new traders have problems holding onto a stock that's working. The 30-minute rule, as simple as it sounds, look at the difference here. So I've seen a lot of people do it. You know, they're willing to let MY come down all the way to the low of the day before they'll stop it out, right? But if it works for them, they'll kill it in like a nickel. You'll never get ahead doing that. You got to learn to let your winners run. So if you self-impose 30-minute rule, right, and say you took this at 348-ish, something like that, instead of killing it at 354, there's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, something like that. Then you're in it and killing it probably on that first red candle around 370, which is almost a 10% move. There's a big difference there. So try to use that. And that helped me a lot with Bristol Myers, especially on that double bottom. You know, rather than sell after 3 candles and you see the red candle and you think it's going to roll over, the 30-minute rule keeps you in. I mean, a lot of people would have done that. They would have taken it there and said, well, it can't break this high, it's rolling over again, and killed it and made like 5 or 6 cents, right? And look what happens. If you're holding the 30-minute rule, now that doesn't mean you don't keep your original stop. You always adhere to your original stop. But if you're using the 30-minute rule, you sit through this little, and then you realize, oh, now shorts are weaker, right? Longs are in charge at this point, especially if we can get over the high of that last bounce, which it did. And so that just helps keep you in it. And if you're green in something, there's nothing wrong with making it an all-day trade. Now, when it looked like this, is when I typed in the room, this is a great place to take profits. If you're new and you're wondering why in the heck I said it there, because it's grinding higher here, grinding higher, and then you got, it's subtle, but you can see the shape change there. So you moved from 48.60 to 49.20, but you got that subtle shape change. You might be able to see it better if I switch to 2-minute candles. See it there? And that is exactly why I always tell people sell into shape. So you got a nice pop there, a little sideways, another grind. I'm not doing great at drawing these, but then there's your shape change. Anytime you get shape change in your favor, great time to sell some. You don't have to sell it all, but that ended up being the high of the afternoon. So at least I think it did. Let's switch. Yeah, that ended up being the high of the afternoon. A lot of people always sell when something comes back to a moving average or back to support. Selling some into shape in your favor is a good feeling, and a lot of times you will sell very close to the high of the bounce or the high of the move for the day. So it's a good feeling, and if you're wrong, who cares? You still sold into a nice pop, right? And if you want to keep some, you know, for maybe a parabolic move, there's nothing wrong with that either, as long as you protect your entry after that. And then I think that was about it for the day. Bear with me. NQ. You know, I mentioned NQ over 760. That's in my notes. Now, I didn't take this, and my caveat was over 760, NQ could work, but it's NQ. That was my caveat, because it's a squinky stock. But it did bust up to 770, so someone could have had a scalp. And it ended up closing in this flag, so probably should be on bounce watch tomorrow after the big move on Friday. And it really kind of stayed in a narrow range, and then you've got a nice little base here. So, you know, up over this base on Tuesday or up over the high of the day over 780. NQ might get a nice pop. Let's see what else. I think that was it for the YOD. That's right. We got a pop in YOD late in the day. And actually, I mentioned it that it could work over 330. I originally was going to bid for the first pullback, but it was holding up so well that I said, you know what, over 330. Then you should light up the new highs ticker, which would have been 333, and maybe they'll pile in. And it just didn't happen. It went to I called it 331. I think it went to 335. I ended up with I think I even made a sandwich out of it because I scalped some and then thought if it gets parabolic, then I'll sell the rest. And once it came back to my address, back out. So, you know, it's not a great trading stock, but it was worth a shot there. And I think that's it, guys. Really nice job fishing out the you know, the hidden gems on a very dead day in the SPY after the initial sell-off, right? And that's what helped me get Bristol Myers. This initial sell-off took BMY down with it, but then once it got back up near the high of the day, I mean, it was just range-bound in 20 cents. And so that's just called welcome to summer trading. But I think everyone did a good job fishing out the gems today. And generally, to me, Tuesdays are better than Mondays. Mondays, everyone's, you know, still half asleep from the weekend and not ready to dive too far into anything. We've all got our feet wet for the week now, and Tuesday should be much better. So let's just stay on our toes on Tuesday, work together, and watch for those volume spikes, watch for the pullbacks that we teach and all that, and we should have a nice day. All right, I'm going to quit babbling. We'll see you tomorrow.